Welcome to step 3, devise a plan. In the words of Benjamin Franklin, if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. A well-known tool used by many in their personal life as well as their professional life is the S.M.A.R.T goal setting plan. And so S.M.A.R.T is specific, measurable. The letter A is interchangeable. I've heard actionable and I also heard achievable. And the same for R, I've heard result relevant as well as realistic. And for T, time bound or time based. Another tool used to help you to devise your plan, which is the S.W.O.T analysis. So you want to make a list of the things that are working for you as well as the things that are working against you internally and externally. So that's the S.W.O.T analysis. And strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so your strengths are internal and they're useful to you, things that you have inside of you that you possess that are useful to you. And then you have your weaknesses, things that are internal inside of you and they are harmful. Then we have opportunities, and those are things that are external to you and they are useful. And then threats, things that are external to you and they're harmful. So I utilize these two tools to kind of gauge my probability of conquering my fear of living abroad, right? Because I don't know anyone here. I never lived abroad before. I don't know anyone personally in my family and friend circle that live abroad. So let's start off with the S.M.A.R.T goal setting tool. So for specific, I actually went on a vacation for my 35th birthday. I went to Europe and I also went to Northern Africa. So I did like 8 or so countries within 35 days. And I was mesmerized by all the places that I went to. That I was like, God, I really want to live overseas. Like, this is where it's at. Like, I love this because it seems like you're vacationing all the time. So that was in 2016, June 2016. So I put that out into the atmosphere, that is what I wanted for my life. And then we have measurable. So time passed because as we stated earlier, my feared symptom is procrastination. But hate to admit it, but in August 2017, like a year or so later, a life event happened, right? So I got mold in my apartment. And my landlord, she was gonna fix it, but I was like, I think that I want to turn this situation into lemonade. So my goal of living abroad was always, in my mind, but how I'm gonna make it happen. I don't know anyone that lives there. I never lived abroad before. Is it safe? What it's gonna be like? But I was like, you know what? Bump all of that. I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity. So I got out of that lease. I turned into a minimalist. I put all of my goods on offer and let go and tried to sell as many stuff as I could. I took that excess money. I paid off consumer debt. I moved into a friend's house and leased out a bedroom. I was able to take that money and pay off my car note. So I was taking measurable steps and meeting milestones to put myself in a position to conquer my fear of living abroad. Next step, achievable. So with this new disposable income in December 2017, I decided to take a trip, a personal 2-week retreat to the United Arab Emirates. It was the hot spot there. Everybody was going to Dubai. And I was like, okay, well, let me put this on my list. So I made it happen. I went to Dubai and I really wanted to go alone because I wanted to see if I could do solo travel. And also, I wanted to know, would I get lonely? Like, would I miss my family? Would I miss my friends? Would I miss my environment? And can I maneuver my way through the language difference, the time zone difference, the cuisine difference, the currency exchanges, the temperature, the climate different? I just wanted to know if I could do that alone. And I set my trip to come back on Christmas Day, and I really wish that I just would have stayed into the new year. Like, seriously, I was like, man, because I thought that I was going to miss out on something. And I just could have kicked myself. I just should have stayed into the new year because I enjoyed myself immensely. I didn't get homesick at all. I actually missed the UAE when I came back to the US. So that was letting me know that it was achievable. So my next step was in July 2018, I ended up doing another purge and packing everything in one suitcase in one backpack. Because I was like, if I was to do it, these are the items that I'm going to take with me. And I had a garage sale, and then everything else I didn't sell, I either gave away to the Goodwill or I gave away to friends and relatives. So you want to make sure that your goal is achievable. So what is the action required to make that goal attainable? And I felt as though condensing my life to 2 bags, that was the step I needed to take to make my dream a reality, and also to conquer my fear. Because remember, a year had already passed, and it was going on almost 2 years. Because I said that June 2016, and it was actually 2018 in July of me doing this. So realistic. So I began a long distance romantic relationship with Daniel. I actually met Daniel the last day of my 2-week retreat in the UAE. And we actually took a vacation together in June for 2 weeks in Thailand for my birthday. And then he invited me again to the UAE. Well, after he invited me to Thailand, because that was his idea, he invited me to the UAE to come and see him for Thanksgiving, and then he proposed to me. So it was really becoming realistic. Like, now I have a contact. You see how everything just works out? When you start taking steps towards conquering your fears and obtaining your dreams, things just start working out. It's fate. It's like someone said this: when you're riding in the car at night and you're on a very dark road, you have your highlights. It only lets you see so far. So that's fate. You only see so far, but you continue to drive because you know the road is there, right? So you continue to take the steps to get you to where you're trying to go. So I had a contact, overseas now. Now I knew a person over there. And then I was identifying with being an international traveler within my sphere, because I had taken so many trips within those, past 2 years. So everybody was like, where are you going next? That was always the question, where you're going next. So international travel had become my normal. So those trips back to back per se, they were making my dream more achievable and more practical. But because it was like going to grab a cup of coffee now, the way I was, taking trips or whatnot. So yes, time based. The goal should have a date of accomplishment. Although we said earlier that my fear symptom is procrastination. That's the one that I identify with the most. So if I didn't act on impulse per se, I would still be in the USA. But the steps that I had taken prior, they set me up to once again take advantage of an opportunity. So I was living with a guy at that moment, and when I first moved in, he didn't have a girlfriend, but he ended up getting a girlfriend. And so that girlfriend, I don't think she liked the idea that I stayed there. And so in the beginning, I was supposed to stay there to December, and I was like, okay, well, let me ask them, can I extend it again? Because I know that, I plan on moving to the UAE, with Daniel or to Ghana, wherever that was. I was just gonna move. We was gonna move somewhere, but I was moving. And he was like that it wasn't a good idea because, it was causing conflict with his relationship. So I was like, dang. Well, I don't want to get another apartment. I don't want to buy a house because I did get pre-qualified. I really don't want to do that. $50,000 mortgage, and I was like, I really don't want to do that because I got rid of all this stuff so that I can just fly and be free. So I will talk to Daniel, and he didn't like the idea of me coming because once again, he had not had a team. He was getting released from that team. He had not found another team yet. But I told him, I said, I have faith. I really believe, that you're gonna get a team. And so he released me to come, or whatever per se, released me to come. And so at that moment, I put my 2 weeks notice into my job, and I booked a one-way ticket on December the 30th to go to the Dubai, and I arrived in Dubai December 31st on New Year's Eve, and I started a whole new year, a whole new chapter in a new country. So that's how I overcame my fear of living abroad. So baby steps. It was a 2 year, well, it was actually more than 2 years. I honestly think it was more than 2 years. But I don't want yours to take that long. I don't want don't be me. Like, be better than me. Don't let yours take, so long, to conquer your fear. Because it's not hard. We just make it hard. It's not hard. Because I feel as though it could have happened before then. But once again, I wasn't taking the strategic steps that I needed to make it happen. So this is hindsight. So I'm letting you inside of my world so that you can learn from my mistakes. So the next thing you want to do is you want to create a SWOT analysis. So we talked about what SWOT stands for. So Socrates says it best. He said, an unexamined life is not worth living. So what are some strengths that could have helped me overcome my fear of living abroad? And once again, those are internal and those things that are useful to you. My comfortability with cultural differences. Because I had lived, when I first moved to Georgia, I'm originally from Alabama, I had moved to Clarkston. And Clarkston is like a very small city, but it is full of so many different nationalities. Now, I'm not mistaken, it's like a refugee camp for people to come from different countries or whatnot. So you have so many people there from so many different countries and nationalities represented there. So smelling different cuisines, hearing different dialects and speeches, seeing people dress differently, that was normal to me. That was second nature to me. So when I would actually travel, when I saw someone wearing a Condora or I saw somebody wearing an abaya, it wasn't a big deal because I had seen this in Clarkston, not Emiratis, but, people of different nationalities. Also, another thing internal to me is that I could say this is a strength. I had adopted a minimalistic lifestyle, so I was only acquiring things that I needed or things that were of true value to me. We have like a lot of in regards to weaknesses, procrastination. Yeah, because remember, I had a date of starting this in June 2016, but possibly it could have been before then. But so it took a span of 2 years because I procrastinated. Opportunities are that my significant other lived abroad, and the threats, I would say, is job. Yeah, I knew my husband, but I didn't have a community here. You can the cons to help you conquer your conquer fears. I don't like to say it's your fear. Conquer fear. Time now better. You want to know yourself better. You want to know what can go wrong so that you can manifest your dreams into reality. So as always, we're going to have an exercise after each video. So I'm going to include a worksheet for you to do your SMART goals on, as well as a worksheet for you to do your SWOT analysis on. So you have completed number 3.